Welcome back to at Center Stage. NAFEM is thrilled to welcome the founder and CEO of the Wonder Group, Marc Lore, to the NAFEM Show. The Wonder Group is on a mission to make great food more accessible and is disrupting the food service industry to realize its vision. Joe Carbonara, editorial director at the Zoomba Group, leads a conversation during which Marc shares his insights into the benefits of disruption in today's marketplace and for the food service industry of tomorrow. Please welcome Joe Carbonara and Marc Lore.
Thank you, Deidre, and thank you, NAFEM, for having us here. Marc, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule here to come talk with the people that are attending the NAFEM show here today.
Great to be here, Joe.
It's a real exciting time here on the floor. You can sense the energy kind of coming through from behind us. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who would love to be able to meet you because you have a heck of a story, and I want to jump right into that story right now if we could. Just about I think everybody in the restaurant or the food service industry has, for them to get in, particularly in the operations side, has a tremendous story, or has a great or an interesting story about their connection with food in terms of the relationship it played maybe growing up, either in their homes or maybe a first job was transformational for them. Marc, what was your relationship or your background with food growing up?
Yeah, there's a couple things. First, my mom was a bodybuilder growing up. And so when I was in high school, I would go to my mom's bodybuilding competitions. And she was obsessed with, her body and nutrition. And as a kid, was just always reading books and studying nutrition and trying different diets and things. So I kind of had that. And then my mom's mom from Italy, was cooking all the time, and I loved being around her. I loved her food, and I don't know, I just developed a love for food and sort of nutrition, and thought a lot about it, probably more than most kids at a young age. My first job was a busboy, so in the restaurant business by coincidence, and I went to cooking school actually.
Really?
At one point. So yeah, I just always had a love of food.
Yeah, some of my fondest memories growing up are being with my Italian grandmother in the kitchen on Christmas Eve and helping her, hand roll out the pasta, or she would try and scare me. She would take calamari and saute it in a pan, and then if they contract,
yeah,
like when you're doing that. And she's like, look, they're alive. So she had a little bit of a sense of humor there, where she would really try and.
Did you have to finish everything on your plate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Before you were given more, you had to finish everything on your plate. That's just kind of how it went. But you're a self-described entrepreneur, right? Your professional path didn't take you right into food. You had some background in banking. You worked in the e-commerce space, diapers.com, jet.com, Walmart, and so forth. What was the opportunity that you saw, as a very successful entrepreneur in the restaurant space that made you decide to transition over here?
Yeah, I mean, love of food, but I was watching what was happening around the world. People were putting a premium on convenience, and people weren't cooking as much. And food ordering for delivery was exploding around the world. I'm watching DoorDash and Uber Eats and Grubhub and the rest of the companies around the world. And I'm looking at the experience. I'm a user of it, ordering food for delivery. Yeah. It's cold. It's taking a long time. Customer service is terrible. And the accuracy of the order was not what it should be. There was no control, right? And I thought there's really a big opportunity here for someone to vertically integrate. Not only be the delivery platform, but also own the content, own the restaurants, and be able to vertically integrate. And so that was the original thinking.
So let's talk about what Wonder is exactly, right? Because some people have called it a ghost kitchen. Some people have called it a food hall. I know that your organization has its roots back to actually food trucks where you're preparing food in front of people's homes and so forth. So tell us, for the audience, once and for all, Marc, what is Wonder?
Yeah. So Wonder has a physical brick and mortar located right in the heart of where people live. Looks like a high-end fast casual. There's 10 or 12 seats, pickup. But the real magic of Wonder is that in the kitchen runs around 2,500 to 2,800 square feet. We've managed to put 30 different restaurant concepts and 560 unique meals. And this is everything from a high-end steakhouse, Jose Andres, burgers, barbecue, Chinese, Mexican, Italian, Middle Eastern, every cuisine type in this one kitchen, and operate it with very lightly skilled, lightly trained labor, very little waste, and super high efficiency and consistency. And the food quality is incredible, right? And so how do we do it? We spent hundreds of millions of dollars literally on culinary engineering and food science over the last 6 years, so that now we could cook a steak to perfect temp in 6 minutes, pizza in 90 seconds, we can cook pasta without water, wok fried Chinese food without a wok. Like we're learning to cook food and replicate great quality in a very systematic way. We've got conveyors in the kitchen, we've got a semi-automated expo area, so the food is scanned and tells the person what cubby to put it in, and then it tells when to bag the cubby. We built all our own software in the kitchen. We own the courier network, so we time the cooking with the courier. So all the food, you can order across 5 restaurants at once. All the food finishes at roughly the same time. It immediately goes into a hot bag and out to a courier because we knew when the food was going to finish cooking. We time it with the courier so the food never sits. We also set a very tight delivery radius, 6 minutes in the city and 12 minutes in the suburbs. So we won't deliver longer than that. We don't batch food. So you can literally, for a family in the suburbs, you can have 5 people in a family, all order from a different restaurant, and it all gets delivered hot, under 30 minutes, with 99% accuracy and 95% on-time delivery. So the vertical integration allows for a superior delivery experience. The other really cool thing about Wonder is, and it's not immediately obvious, is that it works best in suburban and less densely populated exurban areas.
Really? Because
we're bringing food that's not accessible in those areas, we're making it accessible. So there are places in New Jersey where there is no Chipotle or Five Guys or Sweet Green or Cava. Well, we've got restaurants that compete with those restaurant chains. We're able to bring Wonder to those areas because each of our individual concepts only need to do $300,000 per concept, because when you add it together across 25 or 30 restaurants, it's millions of dollars of revenue and it's economically viable. So it's this fractional restaurant concept that allows us to go places that other restaurants can't go. So that really is sort of the core Wonder business model.
When you look at new markets, because you talked about how like really dense markets probably aren't your greatest place that you want to be in. When you're looking for a new market space, what are some of the attributes you guys might want for a new city or new state you're going into?
Yeah, so we're looking to put Wonder to service every pocket of population in the US, or 95% of it over time. And so what we do is we look at a delivery area and we say, okay, it's 12-minute delivery area. What's the population? What are the demographics? What's the income level? Let's come up with a revenue estimate. And then based on that revenue estimate, we'll size the Wonder location. So we have 5 different size locations. We could put 30 restaurants in the biggest location, which has a 2,800 square foot kitchen, and we could put 12 restaurants in a 1,200 square foot kitchen. So really, we scale up and down. So there's no place we can't go. It's just a matter of sizing the location.
And it's interesting too to me, the fact that you're using an all-electric kitchen, as the industry is really starting to struggle. Other operators are starting to figure out what that means, where they can go, and so forth. I would think that there'd be certain advantages by being all-electric, meaning you're not dealing with as much MEP infrastructure.
There's only 2 different pieces of cooking equipment. It's electric. There's no gas. There's no hoods. There's no flames. I should have mentioned that, but it does allow us to go in a lot of places that other restaurants can't go.
So I want to jump now. I want to go back to December of 2022. It's a special time for all of us. We're Carbonara House. We were making pasta for Christmas. But in December of 2022, Mark, that's when you took over full-time as CEO of Wonder.
Yep.
And since then, a company that was already turning heads and operating in the fast lane, if you will, really seemed to find another gear at that point. You've seen additional investments since then. Your company has acquired Blue Apron and Grubhub and so forth. Talk about those transactions and how they fit into the overall vision of where you want to go with the company.
So the big vision is to create a super app for mealtime. So we'll use sort of the first-party Wonder brick-and-mortar restaurants to bring customers in. It's a really unique experience. It's an elevated delivery experience. But the bigger goal is the super app for mealtime. And so we went and bought Grubhub because Grubhub has 375,000 local restaurants on their platform. We are adding those local restaurants to the Wonder platform this spring. And so you'll be able to come on Wonder and get the incredible first-party Wonder experience with multi-restaurant ordering, but you'll also be able to order from your favorite local restaurant at the same time. So that is really a strategy to sort of win food delivery, is to have first-party and third-party. But the goal, the vision's even bigger. We want to service every meal occasion. So we bought Blue Apron to service oven-ready meals, meal kits. We're looking at reservations. We're looking at grocery. All the ways in which people eat, we want to be able to service, because we started to work on an AI platform that really brings together health and food in a way that it never has before. We want to get to a point where we're autonomously feeding people breakfast, lunch, and dinner, 21 meals a week, which might sound absolutely insane, but let me give it a shot, because I've been using this AI platform now for Wonder in a very hacky way myself personally. And I would say right now I'm up to about 85 to 90% of all my meals are AI derived, meaning I don't know what I'm going to eat. AI tells me what I'm going to eat, and that's what I eat for that meal. Now it starts with setting your health goals. So I've done a full diagnostic review of my health, blood test, understand all my biomarkers, understand all your body composition metrics, blood pressure and all that stuff. And then based on that, set goals. And based on the goals set, AI then solves for your health while feeding you the best food that you like, given the goals you've set for health. And it's an iterative process, so every meal I eat, I have to rate it to AI. That was an 8.5, that was a 9, that was a 7.5. I've done this for hundreds of meals now. It knows what food I like better than me. And I'm always surprised at the meals, because it's different, it's unique. Maybe it's something I had that I loved 6 months ago that I forgot about. And meanwhile, at the same time that I'm loving the food I'm eating every meal, it's also solving for my health goals. And so over the last 3 months, for example, I had low iodine 3 months ago. I noticed every once in a while it would add kelp to some of my meals, which is high in iodine. And sure enough, I just got my blood results. Iodine's now in the green. This is happening without me even thinking about it. It started to add raw walnuts to my oatmeal, my steel-cut oatmeal, and it lowered my LDL cholesterol by like 30 points over the last 3 months. So it's doing that, but it's not going hardcore health, because then I would give it a bad rating. So it knows I have to give it a good food rating, but it also has to solve for my health. I think this is the future of the world. I think in the future, people are going to give up a little bit of agency and trust that AI knows you better than yourself. It is you. It basically becomes a smarter version of yourself, but it's looking after your health. It's not being persuaded by marketing, by branding in store on what they're saying is healthy. It's truly based in science and based on what you love. And then the next iteration would be to bring this to all of America, where maybe they're more interested in hitting a certain budget for their food, and AI could basically send you your groceries, tell you what to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but not only have bought the groceries in the smartest way to save you money, but also make full utilization of your groceries. So AI knows we sent you a bag of 8 carrots. We used 1 carrot for lunch, 3 carrots for dinner. There's 4 carrots left, so we'll make sure we use it. So it's making full use of your groceries. It knows ahead of time all the meals you're going to eat, and so it's perfectly fits like a glove to, again, save people money, give them food that they love to eat, not having to think about what's for dinner or what's for lunch, what the kids are going to have for lunch the next day, and at the same time make you healthier. And I do think it has the ability to truly move to food more as medicine, and rely less on drugs, and really alter the health crisis that we have in America. Like if you kind of play this out. So that is the big vision, and that's what gets me fired up, and why I'm working 100 hours a week on this, and all in on this.
So how does it this is kind of a personal question, but let's say you're having dinner at your mother-in-law's house, and you don't really like the way dinner. Does she ever find out the rating you gave the meatloaf that night?
She will not find out, hopefully, unless you don't tell her. I wouldn't tell her that. But if you go out to dinner at a reservation, first of all, Wonder AI would be able to make a reservation for you at a restaurant that it knows you would love, based on, because it knows you as well as you know yourself. And you could trust it to do that, or you can make it yourself through the Wonder platform. But when you get to the restaurant, AI will just tell you what to eat off the menu. Again, it's you. Don't think of it as not having agency, like, no, I might be craving. AI is you. It knows what you're craving. It knows because you haven't had something in a while. It knows you love it. It sees the menu, and it's like, oh, you haven't had this in a while. You love this. This fits within your health goals. Get this. And it's always right. It's like unbelievable. So you don't even need to think about it. Of course, if you just want to change and say, no, I don't want that, you have two options. You could tell AI, pick something else, or you can just eat something else and then text AI or voice, hey, I actually had this, just so it captures all of your data. Maybe it was, not quite consistent with your health goals. Maybe the next day it sort of, changes a couple things to try to get you back in line.
So when the company started out, you were doing this in tricked out vans, right? You were driving to the customer's home or office or whatever, pulling up in front and cooking the food to order right out in front there. Then you made the transition to a more brick and mortar approach. Why make such a transition? What was like the moment? Why make such a transition? How does that fit into where you ultimately want to go?
Yeah, so we had a lot of success with the trucks. We were basically driving to people's homes in a Mercedes Sprinter van and cooking the meal right outside your door. It was phenomenal quality and heat and everything else. But we tested a brick and mortar, and what we realized was we can put all 30 restaurants in one brick and mortar as opposed to having 30 separate trucks. It was lower CapEx. We could offer multi-restaurant ordering. And because we set a tight radius, we were able to get the same taste scores, the same quality scores from customers. So if it's lower CapEx, there's a bigger TAM. We could put brick and mortar in more places. We can put it in less densely populated, more urban areas where we couldn't really do the trucks. So once we saw that, we made the pivot to go there. Now, that was 2 years ago. We have 40 locations open today, and we'll have 100 locations open in 10 months. We're opening about one a week right now.
That's impressive. That is really, really living life in the fast lane, I think, in terms of development, and yet you put the trucks in the parking lot for good, right?
Yep.
I guess one of the other questions I have then is in your each location, you have a small amount of seating, and you're a concept that is really a delivery first concept. Why include seating in these locations?
Yeah, 50% of our orders are pickup, so we do have a lot of people coming in.
Okay.
So we want to have a nice area to sit and wait. But also, people do come in and just order lunch there and sit down and eat. So think kind of fast casual. Sure. They have some seating as well. We wanted people to really see the brand for not being ghosty or not, we wanted it to look and feel like a real fast casual kind of environment. And we've got a new design that's coming out that's even going to take it even a step further.
Okay.
And so that's a big part of the brand we're looking to create with Wonder.
We're seeing it's a time, where we saw during the pandemic, we saw ghost kitchens explode and virtual brands explode. And then they kind of shrunk back in a little bit. In your organization, your concepts really seem to be, you're growing at a very healthy clip. Why is that? Why are you able to grow so fast where others who have tried to do something similar, they kind of slow down?
I think it's a great question. I don't think it's from a lack of demand, customer demand. I think it was really challenging to make the economics work. So we invested, again, hundreds of millions of dollars over a long period of time with a whole team of food scientists and culinary engineers, because we knew if we were going to put 560 meals in 30 restaurants in one kitchen, it couldn't be done the way the ghost kitchens are doing it, where there's stations and each one is a separate restaurant with separate equipment. You have consistency issues in down periods of demand. You still need to man all the restaurants. We could operate all 30 restaurants off peak hours with 2 people. So that is sort of the magic there, and it's consistent. If you want to scale fast, it has to be consistent. So, everything is paint by numbers. All the technology says, get the steak in this refrigerator, put it in this oven on the left, take it out, put it on that conveyor. It's very systematic in the way we cook. So I think putting a lot of time into that. I think owning the restaurants means we don't pay any royalties. That was another source of drain. And then probably the biggest savings is we don't pay 30% to DoorDash and Uber Eats. We have our own platform. People order direct. So I think if you were just a ghost kitchen, you're paying royalties to the restaurant, you're paying 30% to DoorDash, and then you got high labor and waste because you're really inefficient in the kitchen. You could see how the math is really challenging to work. Yep.
So your whole goal is to be the super app for people when they're ordering food. Talk a little bit about where you're at the moment in terms of overall menu and offerings. I mean, can you right now, if I was in one of the areas where you're operating from, can you take me from breakfast and coffee all the way to dessert after dinner?
Yeah. So on breakfast is coming in 2026, coming next year. So we don't have breakfast. We can do lunch, dinner, dessert right now, but it's a very wide assortment of food. We've got Bobby Flay Steakhouse, so you can get a filet mignon cooked to perfect temp, the same every time, a 10-ounce filet for $34. It's probably the best value steak in the world delivered to your door, and it's going to come hot and fast. You can get Jose Andres Spanish tapas. You can get barbecue from this great place, Tejas Barbecue in Tumble, Texas. You can get a cheesesteak from Fred's Meat and Bread from Atlanta, which is right over here. And you can get all these meals delivered at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the cool thing is because of the vertical integration, it all shows up on one ticket.
Yep.
You have a family, my family, they're kind of picky. I mean, there's 5 of us, and if you asked us what we wanted for dinner, you'd probably get 7 different answers.
And it's funny, you just mentioned that thing about ticket. So there's no concept in Wonder of a ticket. So when the order comes in, you order from, let's say you order from 7 different restaurants. Basically breaks down all the items into how long it's going to take to get from order to the expo area, and they're just items. And the items will go and be worked on in different places according to when they need to start, so everything finishes at the same time. It's not until it comes off the conveyor, gets scanned and put in a cubby. The cubby is the only place that we have this concept of like, this is now an order. So there's no ticket like in a restaurant where you're kind of working off it, which I think is really unique.
It is.
And it makes it a lot more efficient because nobody has to care about the ticket until the very end when they're putting it in the bag.
Talk about automation. I mean, there's automation vendors here on the show floor. Everyone is talking about automation, robotics, and and that sort of thing. What role will some of that play in the future of your concept moving forward?
Yeah, I think the goal would be to move toward full automation in the future. So right now, like I said, we have 2 pieces of electric cooking equipment. We still have refrigerators where the food is stored. We want to get rid of all refrigeration, have the food come into cold storage, be robotically picked in the cold storage, and then put on a robot to basically take it to the appropriate oven or wherever the station is where it's getting cooked. That would pull a lot of labor out, allow us to shrink the footprint, reduce waste. Like there's a lot of efficiencies there. So that's kind of like the next step. We want to fully automate the expo area and use robotics to pick it off the conveyor and put it in cubbies. We're using computer vision right now to make sure that all the bowls, like in a fast casual Mexican or salads or Cava sort of competitor, that computer vision is looking at everything you do to make sure you get that bowl perfected. But I mean, that's why I'm here too. I want to hear what all you have, what all you all working on that could help us on this journey to get to full automation.
Well, you have a great relationship with the suppliers that you're working with. Tell me a little bit, just tell for the audience, I guess, not for me, but what role has the supply chain, your vendors that you're working with, what role have they played in helping you get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a few different vendors that we use. Middleby is one of the biggest. We've relied heavily on TurboChef. That was sort of the original experimentation. It was all done on the TurboChef. I think we wound up doing things on it that I think nobody thought possible because we were just so laser focused on trying to replicate great food out of that oven. And we've invented our own proprietary pans and things so to manage the temp and wind speed in a way that it had never been done before. And they've been a great partner to us,
Sure.
Among other partners. But we're growing fast, and there's need for relationships with many more partners in the automation space.
And what kind of, so as you start researching moving forward, what kind of support do you want from the supply chain? I mean, in terms of what people say partnership. Let's talk about partnerships. What does partnership mean to you? Because we talk about it, and a lot of times in the industry, people say partnership, and that means you give me a product and I pay you for it.
Yeah.
But I think to develop something that is this groundbreaking and this different, we're talking about more than something that's simply transactional.
Yeah, I think a strategic partnership, I'm thinking it works for both us and the vendors well, because we're sort of joint planning, building the kitchen together. There are probably synergies to be had by understanding exactly what we're going to need, when we're going to need it, and being able to co-develop a plan together to save you, money on the supply chain costs, which ultimately would save us money in the front end. But I think also when you start bringing partners into your way of thinking, they might have ideas on how to do something more efficiently that you didn't even think about.
Sure.
So I think it's really about being transparent. Like, this is exactly what we're trying to achieve. Here's what we're doing now. How can we work together to make your business better and our business better as well?
You have a great background in e-commerce, Mark. Tell me, what are a couple things that you think that the restaurant industry can learn from the e-commerce world?
Well, it's more the other way around. But
Well, okay. Well, what can the e-commerce world learn from restaurants then?
I mean, I think the restaurant industry, and you all probably know this, is way more complicated than e-commerce. So we used to think it was challenging to, buy a box of diapers that doesn't expire from Procter & Gamble, bring it into a warehouse, pick it, and give it to FedEx for delivery. That seems super hard. I mean, and now we've got, we're ordering food. The food is not always the same, even though it's the same vendor. It has an expiration date. You need to keep cold chain. You need to actually cook the food. You need to keep the food after you cook it hot and deliver it to a customer before it gets cold. I mean, it is a whole magnitude higher level of difficulty.
Sure.
In terms of what the learnings would be, I think, well, I would say one thing that food can learn from e-commerce is e-commerce, because the products are commoditized.
Yep.
We're thinking about how to, and the margins are tight. So I'd say that commodity equals tight margins, and so you're forced to think about every basis point of profit, and you're forced to think about automation in a way that I don't think restaurants think about it,
okay,
because the margin's a little fatter.
Sure.
And so I think we brought a lot of that thinking. And if you look at our kitchen, it looks like a micro e-commerce fulfillment center.
Okay.
It's very it's got automation, and we've managed to replicate the cooking quality, but with all the principles of e-commerce micro fulfillment. So we have refrigerators that are inventory locations. The shelving are labeled, A1, A2, A3, and the technology says go to refrigerator 5 and go to shelf 2 and slot 1 and get the item. It's that mindset of make it really dirt simple for somebody to find the product and know exactly where to put it after you get it in the oven, whip compartment, where to put it on the conveyor when you're done. It's sort of a little bit like when I'm in a restaurant, a typical restaurant, you see these tickets. There's a lot of institutional knowledge. Even the KDS is not very prescriptive. You kind of have to know what you're doing.
Sure.
This, you can do the expo area. You can literally walk in off the street and do the expo area with 100% accuracy with zero training. Zero. You just have to be able to read. That's it.
Oh, well, I thought I could get a job, and then it was the reading part, and then, okay. We got about 15 minutes left, and we do have a microphone out in the audience. I could keep asking Mark questions all day, but to you guys in the audience, we have a question from this gentleman right up here in the front.
All right, I've got a question. I'm imagining myself as the manager of this restaurant with 30 different concepts. Um, so you're not doing any scratch cooking.
No.
Everything's so. Where is that being done?
So that's done at a big central commissary food manufacturing facility. We will prep all the vegetables and things. We will par cook and sous vide the proteins. So yeah, so everything comes in food safe. We are finishing it, but it's not cooked from scratch. No. So it makes it. It's actually, if you were to come in the kitchen, hearing that there's 560 different meals and 30 concepts, you think it would be crazy. It's very calm. We've been told it's one of the calmest kitchens you've ever been in. There's no yelling. There's no everybody's quiet. Everybody's just doing their thing. It's very organized and very efficient.
So you need to draw on your Italian roots then, get some yelling going on
Yeah.
in the kitchen. I think that would be better. The central kitchen is a really good point. How many? I'm guessing it's not a one-to-one sort of thing. So how many locations? How many of the restaurant locations will be supported by a central kitchen?
So we want to do the whole Northeast. So call it 1,000 locations up and down the Northeast, supported by one manufacturing facility.
Okay.
Now we are building relationships with suppliers that can do a better job than we can, cheaper, and hit our specs. So we're in the process of doing that now. We just did a big deal with Nestle over the last year, working with them to perfect our proprietary recipe on crusts. They've done it, and now they're delivering. They can do 1 million crusts a day at a much lower cost at the same quality. So we want to do more of that going forward.
Got it. So more partnering, not just with the people who are represented here today, but also on the food side to kind of streamline some processes and take some touches maybe out of the system. Sir, we have a question back there.
I understand you're trying to be a lifestyle offering. Can you tell us about who is it in the market that's giving you the most love? Is there a certain age? Is there a geography? Who is the best buyer and beneficiary of this?
I mean, right now, I would say the core demographic is suburban families, just because people can't agree on what to eat at night, and so the ability for everybody in the family to order from a different restaurant and get us, an incredible delivery experience and have the food come hot, like that is the #1 use case. We're doing really well in the suburbs. We also do really well in the suburbs because we're bringing access to restaurants that don't even exist in many suburbs. So that's sort of the core demo. But really, anybody that appreciates a good food delivery experience, we have high-end food, we have middle-range food, and we've got just a lower-end sort of fast casual burgers and fried chicken and barbecue and things like that. So it is very broad, but I would say the target demo is the suburban families right now.
Sir?
Hey, Mark. Thank you for being here. My name is Toby Johnson. I'm the head of product for Food AI. We're working in the Westfield location, doing the order accuracy and consistency.
Okay, great.
So thanks for being here. Love the partnership. I'm not going to ask you an AI question because I feel like you...
Come on, I thought you were going to ask an AI question.
Well, what's big in AI? No. I feel like you covered that really, really well. And I love what you guys have done with basically taking software principles and applying it to food service. It's awesome. You talked about third-party integration. You talked about home meal kits. You talked about getting to 21 meals. What's the next big thing for Wonder? How are you getting closer to that world domination, feeding everyone what they need, what they want, when they want it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of what I said before, but I think if we could get to a place where we get customers that literally give agency on food to this Wonder AI product, and you let it feed you 21 meals a week, you will save money, you'll be healthier, you'll have less stress about having to think about to eat, and enjoy your food more than you are today. That's the key, because AI gets in your head. It's a better version of yourself. That's what I'm finding, because it gets smarter and smarter every day. I give it feedback. And so I do think that is the big vision. It's going to take multiple decades to get there. I'd like to see a certain segment of the population give us agency in the next 24 months, like, sort of like what I'm doing, which is, yeah, I'm really obsessed about my health. and I just want to hit these health goals, and I want to enjoy the food as I'm doing it. And I want to think about it. Go, like do it. And I have the disposable income to be able to, pay. I don't have to make food from grocery, right? Wouldn't be necessarily subscription because it could come from. I mean, yeah, I guess you would subscribe to the product, but it wouldn't be very expensive. The food would be kind of how you live. It could be you're going out to a restaurant, eat this off the menu. It could be, no, I do want to cook. We'll send you groceries, or it's an oven-ready meal, or it's cooked food from your local restaurant. It's from your local bagel shop, your local deli. It's from Wonder Proper. You're getting Tejas Barbecue. It depends on what you like and what your health goals are. This is not about being uber healthy. It's about living the life that you want to live. You control it. It's your AI. If you want to be a little healthier and still eat all the foods you love and eat barbecue and burgers, AI will figure that out. It'll figure out a way to make you healthier without even knowing that you're eating healthy. So that's the key.
We have a question back there.
Great. I'll hand it to you in just a second. Hi. Bevan from Sweet Green. I know that you spoke a little bit of your growth model and how you're in the Northeast and some other areas. What are the next stages?
So yeah, we've announced that we're going to Philadelphia and DC this year, Boston in the Northeast next year, and then we're not sure where region 2 is, but likely in 2027 we enter a second region.
Who owns your data?
Who owns it? I mean, it's vertically integrated, so we have all the data. We don't share the data. We don't share the data with anyone.
It's your data.
It's our data. I mean, because we're vertically integrated. Yeah.
And it's a great segue because I wanted to go back for a second. We touched part of the big secret sauce here is the fact that you're vertically integrated.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the true differentiating factors. It allows all the other whiz-bang physical things that we talked about, the 2,800 square foot facility with only 2 people working it and all that. It's the vertical integration that really allows that to happen. And the industry has talked about being vertically integrated for a really long time, but you're the first, I think, the company I've spoken to that is truly, truly vertically integrated. And it's across all of it, from everything from POS to back of the house to how you're staging, all that sort of stuff. And I guess my question to you is this: that doesn't happen by accident. So talk about the investment and the time that it took to get to this point, to kind of get it to where you like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, to create 30 restaurant brands and like you said, build the fully integrated and do the delivery yourself, which is something we really wanted to do because food deliveries and even, food deliveries being a bigger and bigger percentage of spend. And if you're a restaurant, that bigger percentage of spend is now out of your control. It's given to a delivery provider to deliver it. You don't know the quality of the food that gets there. It could tarnish your brand. We didn't want to give up that control, so that was a really important decision we made, but it wasn't, I mean, you need to have order density, is why we bought Grubhub, because we needed to have enough order density to make the economics work. So,
yeah,
but in terms of the investment, we've raised 1.6 billion of capital, and it's taken 6 years to build this. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you had to do it from scratch, you could do it for less than that, but it's still hundreds of millions to truly vertically integrate across 30 restaurants on one platform.
The senator from Louisville back there has a question.
Okay, Mark. So you're a big brand. You're a sustainable big brand, and you're heading to a mega brand, right? I mean, you're on a fast track. Talk about the talent, the team that you're forming. You just acquired or brought on and recruited a top Amazon executive, but you have a lot of talent in your organization that's making this happen. So beyond the investment of creating this mega brand, talk about your team.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's the one thing I've learned doing, now over the last 4 startups is that the quality of the team always is the difference maker. The team helps you raise capital too. You obviously need the capital, but it's always about the team. And the impact that an A player can make on your business is always shocking. I see it all the time, but you go from a B player to an A player, and you're like, wow, I didn't know we can do that.
Yeah.
We've been really fortunate to hire some incredible people. You mentioned Tony Hoggett from Amazon. He is our recent executive. He's our COO. He's been with us for 4 months. He was the COO at Tesco for a long time, and then the last 3 years was running Whole Foods and Amazon Food Fresh at Amazon. He's been a great addition to the team, but just across the board, we've been hired some great people. We hired the chief growth officer from Sweet Green. Thank you very much. Daniel's been great. So yeah, no, we've got a truly incredible team.
All right, I'm going to ask you one last question here before we wrap it up.
Okay.
NAFEM Show happens every 2 years. So I want to jump ahead 2 years. Now we're in February 2027.
Okay.
You and I are meeting up for a cup of coffee. And I want you to complete this thought. Wonder has had a great 2 years because of blank. How would you define your success? What would make the next 2 years really successful for your company?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're in a stage now where in the next 2 years, we're going to open up 200 to 300 locations, right? So it's going to be about execution. We need to execute flawlessly, and at the same time, not just maintain the customer value prop, but elevate it. So we're investing aggressively in sequencing software to make the timing of the cooking better, in computer vision to make the accuracy better, and we're investing in new equipment. We have 2 pieces of electric equipment, but we're open to adding a 3rd piece of equipment or even a 4th to elevate the quality of the food. So we're going to live or die by the quality of the food and the whole end-to-end delivery experience. So in 2 years from now, if we've opened all the units we set out to open, and we're on that, and we're executing on that front and elevating the customer experience, I think it'll be a home run.
So at the end of the day, despite all the other great stuff that you're doing, and it's truly impressive, it all comes down to the food and the people at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Yes, always comes down to the people.
Awesome. Mark, thank you for being here this morning. On behalf of... Go ahead.
No, thank you, Joe. It's great to be here.
Nice to meet you as well. This is our awkward first date. So thank you all for joining us on our awkward first date, but we enjoyed it. Mark, I really learned a lot from you. So on behalf of Marc Lore, I'm Joe Carbonara saying thank you, and we hope you return back for more center stage programming.